representing a vector quantity. Now, you can represent a vector quantity by drawing a straight line in the direction of the vector and at a length which represents the magnitude of the quantity that you're representing. All right? So, example this, which I downloaded somewhere from the internet. This vector, you can call it vector AB. And when you write this vector in your notebook, you can write an arrow at the top of the AB to show that you are writing a vector. So you would call this vector AB, and you write AB with an arrow over the top of it. So this is vector AB. It's pointing from A to B. So the direction that the vector is acting is shown by the arrow on the line. Alright? And you give this vector a name. Instead of drawing the vector every time and rewriting the A and the B at the ends, you just say AB. Of course, if you have a different vector somewhere that you drew like this and say this is CD, you can call this vector CD with the arrow at the top. So anytime you write this with the arrow, you know that this is the vector you're talking about. So you give that vector that name. Now the thing is, you have another way of writing the vector. Like this. Let me carry my other representation up and get my AB out of the way here. Instead of writing the two letters AB, you can just write one letter, A. If you're writing in a notebook, you can write this A with the arrow under it. Alright? So that's vector A. And usually, instead of using an arrow, you just use a line under it. I don't want the line to touch. Let me not make the line touch the A, because usually you will have the line not touching the A. If you're typing, then make the A bold to show that you're representing a vector here. And AB, if it's AB that you're using to represent it, you draw the arrow at the top. If it's just A that you're using, then you draw a line below it. Here, this representation shows an arrow at the top. It's not the really conventional way of writing the vector. Right? If you use two letters, the convention is to draw the arrow at the top, as in this case, or to write A as being bold, or to draw the line below A. Those are conventional practice. So you represent the vector this way. Now, you can represent the vector on a graph where you have a certain scale to show the magnitude of the vector. For example, let me open my application here, called GeoGebra. And this is my graph paper here. Suppose I want to draw a line. Let's say my line is from here. Alright, let's take it across here. I want to set up my line. I'll keep it at that color. Let me make it extra thick. Alright, this is my line. And I'm representing a force with that vector. And my force is supposed to be 700 newtons. You know, they measure force in newtons. Kilogram is really a mass, right? Even though it's conveniently used to represent or to tell how heavy somebody is, it's really a mass. Pounds is force, but it's really imperial measurement and not metric. Now, here I have my force in newtons, and I want to represent 700 newtons. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Imagine this is a graph paper with each of these units, each of these lengths between here and here, 1 centimeter. The scale that I would use is 1 cm represents 100 newtons. So that from here to here is 100. Let me from here to here. That's all right. Let's not use this. Let's not use that highlight. Let's use this. From here to here, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 newtons. All right. So that's my scale here. If you're representing the vector quantity on graph. Now I want to tell which direction the vector is operating. Is it in this direction or is it in this direction? So you see the need for the arrow. I have the arrow pointing in that direction. All right. Now, I drew this vector from left to right, pointing in from A to B, the vector AB. But it's not necessarily, doesn't necessarily have to be that way. If I try to maintain my length, could have the vector going this way and being careful to draw it at 7 centimeters. All right. So this is how you represent a vector. Use a line with an arrow to tell the direction of the vector, and the length of the line represents the magnitude of the quantity you're representing. And of course, in this case, I'm using a graph paper with a scale showing a magnitude of 700 newtons, where the scale is 1 centimeter equal 1 newton. So I draw it 7 centimeters long, so that each centimeter represents 100 newtons, and therefore 7 centimeters represents 700 newtons. So therefore I write my 700 newtons on this vector. Alright? So that's the representation of a vector. We will continue looking at vectors and include representation of such a vector in a later video. So I will see you then.